Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the PA Women and Energy Forum. What a great turnout we have this afternoon with people streaming and listening across the Commonwealth today. My name is Bernadette Comfort, and on behalf of the Stop New Energy Taxes Coalition, I want to thank all of you for joining us this afternoon. It is my pleasure to serve as the moderator for today's program, and it is my hope that everyone participating today takes away something valuable about one of our most valuable assets in PA, energy. I want to begin with an announcement and to inform you that this webinar is being recorded today. Long before a global conflict put all eyes on energy production, energy distribution, and the cost of energy, the Stop New Energy Taxes Coalition was formed to educate Pennsylvania's decision makers about the significance of good energy policy. For 8 years, the coalition has engaged numerous stakeholders to carry our positive message about the benefits of the natural gas industry and how that Pennsylvania is not only a leader among states, but a leader among nations when it comes to energy. PA has a long history of being a leading energy producer, dating back to 1859 with the Drake Well in Titusville, Pennsylvania. Did you know that Pennsylvania is the birthplace of the modern petroleum industry, with the first commercial gas well in 1878 called the Haymaker? Did you know that in the United States, Pennsylvania ranks second in total energy production, second in natural gas production, second in installed nuclear capacity, third in coal production, third in electricity production, and Pennsylvania is also the largest net exporter of electricity of any state? The shale energy revolution has made America the world's top natural gas and oil producer, delivering lower energy prices to consumers in a safer, cleaner, and more reliable way. This is as a direct result of modern hydraulic fracturing and horizontal drilling. More recently, horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracturing revolutionized Pennsylvania's natural gas industry, greatly reducing surface impacts. Pennsylvania's energy assets have helped position the United States as a leader in sustainable economic growth, as our nation has outpaced other developed countries in keeping energy prices low while growing the economy and reducing emissions. The energy industry is often perceived as a male-dominated field, but the truth is women are making a difference every day in the field. Today, we are going to hear from 4 outstanding female leaders whose work involves promoting and advocating for good policies that will allow Pennsylvania to benefit from our abundant energy resources. It is my pleasure to introduce to today's 4 speakers and begin the panel discussion. We will hold questions while we hear from our esteemed panelists. If you have a question, you can type it in the chat throughout the discussion. Let's welcome our panelists. First, we are joined by Stephanie Caterino-Wisman, the Executive Director of API Pennsylvania. Stephanie has been in this role since 2011 and represents API and its member companies in Pennsylvania and West Virginia. API Pennsylvania, a division of the American Petroleum Institute, which is the only national trade association that represents all aspects of America's technology-driven natural gas and oil industry. Prior to joining API PA, Ms. Wisman worked in government relations for 15 years for various organizations, including 4 years as the Director of Government Affairs for the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry. For 11 years, she worked for a global integrated communication provider with responsibilities in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Ms. Wisman is an outstanding business leader and well-respected in the halls of state government. Our next panelist also has earned a great deal of respect in the state capitol as a 2-term state senator from Western Pennsylvania. I'm excited to say we are joined today by Senator Tamara Bartolotta, who brings an entrepreneurial spirit and a wealth of real-world experience to her job as senator for the 46th Senatorial District, representing residents of Beaver, Greene, and Washington counties. A longtime resident of Monongahela, Senator Bartolotta was first elected in 2014 and re-elected in 2018. She currently serves as part of the Senate Republican leadership team as Majority Caucus Administrator. In the Senate, the senator's committee assignments reflect the main concerns of the communities she represents, including the need for quality, family-sustaining jobs and smaller government. Senator Bartolotta co-chairs the Senate Gas and Oil Caucus, a bipartisan legislative body that focuses on issues impacting the gas and oil industry with the goal of promoting policies resulting in a positive future for constituents, the business community, and the state economy. Senator Bartolotta often offers a positive voice for the energy industry as the author of regular op-eds on the industry and a sought-after speaker. Today, we're also joined by Gina Sudam, who is the president and CEO of the Wyoming County Chamber of Commerce in Tunkhannock, Pennsylvania. Gina serves as a board member for various nonprofits, including the Pennsylvania Association of Chamber Professionals, Northeast Site Services, and the Girl Scouts. Gina participates in Northern Tier Partnership for Regional Economic Performance to assist with economic development of a 5-county region. Gina believes in public and private partnerships to accomplish long-term community goals. To this end, in 2017, she spearheaded the efforts to bring natural gas service to her local borough, securing $2 million in grant funding from the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development and $15 million in private investment to bring the project to fruition. Gina is a lifetime resident of Wyoming County and loves the community for its kind-hearted people and their tenacity to build a better future. Finally, we are joined by Denise Brindley, who brings to this panel 25 years of progressive energy and environmental related technical, regulatory, government, stakeholder, and policy experience. She has served in a variety of executive management level positions. Currently, she is serving as the Vice President of Strategic Growth and Client Engagement at TRC Companies, where she serves as a trusted energy advisor to clients seeking to design decarbonization strategies and provides leadership to drive growth initiatives with environmental, power, and infrastructure sectors. Prior to joining TRC, she served as the first director of the Pennsylvania of Energy, focusing on the link between transitional energy and economic growth. She has led statewide business development efforts to attract substantive energy-related development projects with a decarbonization focus. I want to thank all of our panelists for joining us today. And let's get started. Let's begin with Stephanie Katarina Wisman. Stephanie, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Bernie, and good afternoon, everyone. And I want to thank the SNET Coalition for having me join you all today. As a reminder, API Pennsylvania is a division of the American Petroleum Institute and is the only trade association representing all segments of America's natural gas and oil industry. Our nearly 600 members produce, process, and distribute most of the nation's energy. API is over 100 years old. API was formed in 1919 as a standard-setting organization and has developed more than 700 standards to enhance operational and environmental safety, efficiency, and sustainability. So here are a few industry stats to think about. America is leading the world in natural gas and oil production. We are number one, with high-quality natural gas and oil reserves and a strong, innovative industry that has been integral to every chapter in modern U.S. history. Pennsylvania is the second largest producer of natural gas, only behind Texas, and we are a key energy exporter. The Marcellus Formation extends 3/5 of Pennsylvania and has the largest estimated proved reserves of any U.S. natural gas field. Natural gas and oil not only power our lives, but are the building blocks for thousands of products that make modern life possible, from cell phones to computers to clothing and medical equipment and personal protective equipment known as PPE. With all this in mind, the U.S. natural gas and oil industry builds our economy and energy future. The industry develops best-in-class standards. Our industry's commitment to safe operations is evident by the strong safety record, with a 99.99% of oil, petroleum products, and natural gas delivered safely to their destination via pipeline. The industry drives new technologies. Modern hydraulic fracturing and horizontal drilling, as Bernie discussed at the outset, has made the shale revolution possible and helped solidify the U.S. as a global leader in natural gas and oil production. At this time, Michael, could you please put up the job slide, please? Okay, assuming it's up there. The industry supports good jobs and boosts our economy. Across the US, the natural gas and oil industry comprised more than 11.3 million total jobs, or 5.6% of the total US employment. This accounted for more than $892 billion in labor income, or 6.8% of our nation's labor income. In Pennsylvania, natural gas and oil supports nearly 500,000 jobs, even in areas without development. Every direct job in the natural gas and oil industry generates an additional 3.7 jobs in Pennsylvania. Natural gas and oil provided over $40 billion in wages and contributed more than $78 billion to the state's economy in 2019. Over $2 billion in impact fee revenue, or let's call it for what it is, it's a tax. It's a unique tax on the natural gas industry here in Pennsylvania. We've brought in more than $2 billion from the natural gas development and has been allocated to the state as well as to all 67 counties for infrastructure, public safety, environmental programs, and other community interest projects since 2012. Pennsylvania's rich shale reserves have helped to attract large-scale projects like Nacero's proposed facility in Luzerne County and Shell's petrochemical complex in Beaver County. The Shell plant, which is slated to be completed this year, uses low-cost ethane, which is a byproduct of natural gas produced in the wet gas region of the Marcellus and Utica basins, to produce polyethylene, which is used in everyday products from food packaging to automotive components. About 6,000, actually more than 6,000 construction workers have been involved in the building of this new facility, and an expected 600 permanent employees when completed. And we need trained workers to fill these jobs in all segments of the industry. An example of what's being done to build the workforce of the future, look no further than to Lackawanna College's School of Petroleum and Natural Gas in Northeast Pennsylvania. Associate degrees and technical certifications are offered at this school, and there is an abundance of family-sustaining jobs available upon completion of a student's training. Michael, if I could ask you to please remove the slide at this time. Thank you. And we can't forget the environmental benefits of the industry. The industry champions environmental progress. In the US, about half of all households now use natural gas as their primary home heating fuel. The shift from less clean sources of energy to natural gas for electricity generation has helped drive down carbon dioxide emissions to the lowest level in a generation, proving natural gas is a powerful tool in the fight against climate change. Methane emission rates have also decreased. According to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and the Environmental Information Administration's data, average methane emissions intensity declined by nearly 60% across all 7 major producing regions from 2011 to 2020. Additionally, the Environmental Partnership, an industry-led coalition of nearly 100 natural gas and oil companies focusing on enhancing environmental performance, has reported a 50% decrease in flaring from 2019 to 2020 when the flare management program started. This reduction roughly equates to the natural gas used by 2.9 million US homes during a typical winter season. The industry delivers affordable, reliable, and clean energy here at home and around the world. Pennsylvania relies on pipelines to safely transport energy. There's over 3,000 miles of liquid pipelines in Pennsylvania, along with over 10,000 miles of natural gas transmission pipelines, safely transporting energy products. This infrastructure is an essential component in connecting production to markets and even to our homes. Access to affordable energy is critical. Pennsylvania's shale gas boom has insulated U.S. consumers from extreme spikes in price, such as those seen recently in Europe, which has restricted natural gas and increasingly relies on renewables for electricity. High home heating costs are also a problem in the northeast part of the United States, where policies have prevented the expansion of natural gas pipelines. To help provide stability for America and our allies, as well as meet the rising demand for reliable energy, we need to advance U.S. energy leadership and expand natural gas and oil production and the infrastructure to support it. Additional taxes on this industry, such as the severance tax that Governor Wolf has previously proposed numerous times, pose a threat to industry investment and therefore our state's job and economic growth. Pennsylvania, as the second largest producer of natural gas in the nation, plays a pivotal role in supplying affordable, reliable energy across the country and around the world. And last, and definitely not the least important, probably one of the most important, is that energy security is national security. The industry supports the US government and our allies in their collective efforts against Russia's unprovoked invasion of the Ukraine. Prior to the Biden administration's halt of Russian imports, the industry had already taken significant and meaningful steps to unwind relationships, both with respect to assets in Russia, as well as imports of Russian crude oil and refined products. Advancing American energy leadership and expanding domestic production can help counter Russia's influence in global energy markets. European countries have already been looking for new natural gas sources, including making a deal with President Biden to expand liquefied natural gas exports. American LNG exports are key to a forward looking geopolitical strategy built around accessible energy that helps nations address any number of challenges. Liquefying natural gas is the most efficient way to transport natural gas to nations abroad. What we need are policies that support natural gas development and energy infrastructure projects to boost Pennsylvania and American made energy, both here at home and abroad. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I look forward to the Q&A session later in the program. And now I will turn it over to Senator Camera Bartolotta.
Bernie and SNET for inviting me and letting me speak today. And thankfully, we finally got off the Senate floor. It was a very long day. But it's my pleasure to be here because this really is a subject that I'm incredibly passionate about. When I started in the Senate in 2014, I requested to be the vice chair of energy and environmental resources for the very fact of where my Senate seat sits. Say that 3 times fast. But it's the southwestern corner of Pennsylvania, and it is Marcellus Central, it's coal central, but in particular, it really, because of our natural gas, it's just the hotbed of energy. And what I will say over and over again is what will pull us out of a pandemic pit. But I just want to say just a few words here that I've written here to address some of the points that we want to get across in today's little session. As a mother of 2 children that I raised in a small southwestern Pennsylvania community, I care very deeply about fresh air, clean water, and I'm tired of watching other lawmakers prioritize partisan politics over the well-being of the residents in this state. Environmental extremists and partisan politicians are attempting to distort the truth and toss good-paying jobs by the wayside. As the chair of the Senate Labor and Industry Committee and the state senator representing all of Greene, all of Washington, and parts of Beaver counties, I observe firsthand the significant benefits that natural gas provides in boosting the economy, providing family-sustaining jobs, and producing affordable energy. The location, resources, and workforce in southwestern Pennsylvania make the region a prime location for growth. The greatest threat to the affordable, clean natural gas energy is not a lack of natural resources, a shortage of capable workers, or an unwillingness to adhere to environmental regulations. No, the real threat comes from lawmakers and environmental extremists who do not understand or appreciate how important the oil and gas industry is in our daily lives. This is not just an issue of affordability. As we saw in Texas last winter, access to energy can literally mean life and death. Russia's recent invasion of Ukraine must serve as the ultimate wake-up call. It is past time for Pennsylvania and the United States, for that matter, to achieve true energy independence to safeguard the interests of our citizens, our economy, and our national security. Real energy independence means that we stop pitting one form of energy against another, be it coal, nuclear, gas, wind, solar. We have to stop pitting American energy against each other. Forms of energy are not the enemy. reliance on foreign energy from those who wish us harm should be. President Biden's war on American energy has discouraged American oil production and constrained access to capital so much that just a few months ago, he begged Russia and the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, to increase their output, even as he shut down American pipelines like the Keystone XL. Pipelines remove thousands of trucks from our roadways and bridges and continue to be the safest by far and most reliable means to transfer natural gas throughout the state and the country. This is why it is essential that we encourage the safe, responsible development of pipeline infrastructure in order for this Commonwealth to reap the considerable economic benefits of these critical industries in the form of more jobs, lower energy costs to consumers, and a cleaner environment. Governor Tom Wolf has banned natural gas development in the eastern third of the state, depriving thousands of homeowners the right to their very own property. He's banned development of the state's own natural gas rights underlying publicly owned property. He's proposed billions of dollars in new taxes on homeowners and businesses, and he's stifled development and diverted billions of capital investment and thousands of family-sustaining jobs to other states through draconian new regulations and death by 1,000 cuts permitting process, so slow it would make a snail jealous. The governor has furthered his war on coal and natural gas by unilaterally entering Pennsylvania into a job-killing, multi-state carbon cartel that will simply shift our reliance to other carbon-emitting states to keep our lights on, all while slapping Pennsylvania customers with an annual energy bill of more than $400 million. Western Pennsylvania is uniquely positioned to be a national leader in the gas industry for decades into the future, particularly based on the rich deposits of natural gas in the region, coupled with a skilled workforce. However, the actions that may be taken by lawmakers over the next several months and years will determine whether we will be a leader in this industry for generations to come or not. We must work together to avoid implementing roadblocks that would halt this industry's progress and instead focus our efforts on supporting safe and reliable natural gas infrastructure, workforce development, and job training programs to strengthen our communities. We literally have the energy under our feet to ship freedom across the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Bartolotta. Thank you so much, Senator, and thank you, Stephanie. You made so many important points. We'll keep a lot of the discussion for the question and answer time, but as everyone can see and hear, we rely every day on energy in Pennsylvania. And I think how you ended it, Senator, was so important, that we could be a beacon of hope for other countries. And now we want to turn the camera to our next guest, Gina Sudam from the Wyoming County Chamber.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me on this panel today. I feel honored to be among such great women and leading the industry. The natural gas industry has, if you look at it, has historically been a male-led or male-dominated, right, industry. People think of it that way, but I'm here to tell you that many women are working in this industry right now, and I want to illustrate a few points to you. Starting with the economic impact that we've seen here in the Northeast region. So I am on the opposite end of Pennsylvania from the senator, and I represent the Northeast region of Pennsylvania in Wyoming County, where I sit, but also Susquehanna, Bradford, Tioga, all of the counties that are being developed right now with natural gas. So we have seen some some great impact to our families. And I want to start there because I am the daughter of a dairy farmer. We are a second generation dairy farm. So my grandfather and then my father have farmed, and we have recently decided that my dad can retire. That's not something that dairy farmers have been able to do in recent years, but through royalty payments and compressor stations and other things being on our property, that has enabled my father to retire and to save his health so that he can enjoy some time in retirement. So I'm grateful for that personally, but I am not the only story of that here in throughout the Northern Tier region. There are many families able to build new homes, to improve their homes, to continue farming, and to improve on their farms through payments, through royalty payments from the natural gas industry that has improved our economy. I also want to talk about the impact tax that and how that has helped us here in the Northern Tier. So couple misnomers about the impact tax. It is in fact a tax, so I want to make that clear. But also that that monies goes throughout our state. So every county, whether you have drilling in your county or not, sees funds from the impact tax. Here in Wyoming County and in the Northern Tier, we use that funding and have improved our roadways. We have improved our parks and recreational activities. And I know that many other counties throughout the region have done that. We also have benefited from private investment. And I want to talk about the private investment as it relates to education, because this came up earlier in our talk today. The Lackawanna College School of Petroleum and Natural Gas. For those of you who are not familiar, that school started in the equivalent of a garage in Susquehanna County and has now tripled in size and has moved to Tunkhannock here in Wyoming County. And they are offering not only natural gas programs there, but also other programming, college programming here in Wyoming County, which is excellent for our students. So they can, get not only a degree in natural gas, but other degrees right here in Wyoming County. But that school relies heavily on private investment from our natural gas industry. We Coterra committed $2.5 million and raised that to get that school started and has been a continued supporter. Williams continues to support that program as well as many others in the industry. I also want to point out the Susquehanna Career and Technical School in Susquehanna County and their CDL program. That program has graduated in less than 2 years, over 100 CDL drivers with A and B licenses. 10% of those graduates of that program are women. So we are again seeing that increase in women in the industry and in these careers that have been historically, male dominated careers. And then I would also like to talk a little bit more about our economy here in the region and how our chambers of commerce throughout the state have helped the natural gas industry. So, and how our members at large, right, in every industry can help with the natural gas development of these pipelines that are crucial to getting the gas, from our regions out to where it is needed. As a Chamber of Commerce, we are active with, of course, API, but also the Pennsylvania Manufacturing Association and our state chamber. We oppose bad policies such as these new taxes on natural gas and other industries. And we need our members and we rely on our members to continue to advocate for our local communities and our local economies to see this growth and allow this growth to continue in our regions. I would just like to touch on one more point today about, I know we talked about the natural gas and how we can't get it out of Pennsylvania right now, that need for pipeline development. Right now, natural gas is being shipped to Point Cove, Maryland from Susquehanna County, and it's liquefied, so liquefied in Point Cove, Maryland, and then shipped to Japan. This takes 28 days. Meanwhile, we could be shipping that natural gas to places here in the US, in New England, within 28 hours if we had the ability to get pipelines in the ground through New York and New Jersey. So I need to point that out, and how difficult and this fight has been for the natural gas industry, and how forums like this that bring us together to talk about the true issues are and just so important. And again, I thank you for your time today and being on this call, and I look forward to the Q&A.
Thank you so much, Gina. I really appreciate you being with us today and providing a really local view of how the natural gas industry is improving Pennsylvania. Next, our final panelist is Denise Brindley from the TRC companies. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us, Denise.
Thank you, Bernie, and thank you to SNET for organizing this panel. And I want to make sure that I give a shout out to the other speakers who are spending their time here today. It's truly an honor to be with all of you. Very powerful women in the work that they do, and certainly it's quite an honor to be here. I think that this panel represents a lot of things, a lot of great points of discussion. So let me focus on the woman part for a few minutes if I can. I know the other women on the call with me have shared some of their personal experiences in having a voice and leading in areas that have traditionally not had a lot of women representation. I've certainly experienced that in my 25 years of working in energy and environmental matters. So if there are, in particular, young women on the call today who are just beginning their careers, please know that your voices and your opinions are extremely important in this dialogue. And please lean in and share your opinions and your offerings, whatever you have to bring to the table. There is a place for you in this industry, and you should be here with all of us. So I had a really fortunate experience in college when I was studying to be a geologist. And at the time, I think there might have only been one or two other women in my geoscience program with me. But I was lucky to be mentored by a female geologist who was a professor at the college that I went to. And that transformed really the course of my career and where I have gone since then. And so in that regard, I think all of us on this call would say that we want to help the next generation come forward and experience success in things that matter. And energy does really matter. So I'm going to pivot for a few minutes just to talk about some of the experience that I think I can bring to this discussion as it relates to the private sector. I've done numerous assignments under state government during my my career, but I think the other speakers have done an excellent job on the policy and regulatory and political side of things. There's certainly not much more I could add to those discussions. So let me bring forth my experience in the private sector and some of the things that we are seeing at ground level as it relates to the energy industry. specifically. First and foremost, Pennsylvania is an energy powerhouse. And you can say that whether you're in the public sector or the private sector, it doesn't matter. The truth is that we are, as Bernie mentioned, the #1 net energy exporter in the country. So the power that we're producing is going to other states. After we consume what we need here in the state, the rest of it spills out into other states. We have a lot of resources here. We have a lot of energy resources specifically, not just natural gas, but natural gas obviously is the workhorse here in Pennsylvania right now. We have the 3rd largest natural gas reserve in the world, and that's behind Russia and Qatar. So, you know, the volume of the resource here means that we have an abundant and reliable source of natural gas that the cost of which is lower than anywhere else in the country and likely anywhere else in the world. So it's abundant and it's not expensive and it's reliable. And when it comes to energy transitions, that matters. I think there's been quite a bit of discussion about energy transition. I think I would pause to say that natural gas has really played a significant role in at least one energy transition, and that is from coal to natural gas in Pennsylvania. And I go back to the comments on the cost and the price of natural gas. That was the significant reason. The abundance and the actual cost to produce natural gas made it an available fuel to grow certain markets. And so as a result of that, Pennsylvania has experienced significant decarbonization through the production and the production of natural gas and associated power plant produced electricity. So I feel like that is a fact that often gets lost in the dialogue. So it's an important note for all of you on the audience to know that Pennsylvania's natural gas plays a significant role in decarbonizing Pennsylvania. In addition to natural gas production, there are a number of other significant investments that have come along with natural gas having a presence here in Pennsylvania. I'm not sure how many of you on the call are familiar with the Shell Polymers facility in Beaver County, but that's a multi-billion-dollar investment by Shell Pennsylvania Chemicals to produce the building blocks of plastics. That is a significant investment in Pennsylvania. We've also had a really robust building of pipeline infrastructure in Pennsylvania. And that has come in the form of both greenfield pipeline infrastructure and then maintenance and upgrades on our existing infrastructure. So the value of having a natural gas resource is not just in building new pipelines to new markets, but also valuing, growing, and maintaining the existing infrastructure that you have. So that gives affordability, reliability, and safety as some of those elements. And I'm sure you could relate to the idea that infrastructure must be maintained as a society in order to have a good underlying economy. We see that with our roads and our bridges and our water and wastewater. It's the same for pipeline infrastructure that delivers fuel for a variety of different energy needs. So now I'm going to just tilt really quick and talk for a few minutes about the next transition. And I do think it's fair to say that some of that is being driven by the financial market. So for a long time, federal and state governments were pushing on the need to decarbonize through regulatory mechanisms available to them. But now we're really seeing more of a financial market play, private equity space, things like the SEC, potentially, again, no one knows what's going to happen at the end of the day, but there may be a requirement for climate-related disclosures to come to play. So what does that mean? That means that a lot of companies, in the private sector are focusing on how they account for their carbon emissions. So where does natural gas fit into that? Well, if you go back to the fundamental comment we made at the beginning, not just me, but several other of the panelists, natural gas is a means of decarbonizing in the sector because of its attributes. We can take that to additional leveling, but there really aren't solutions beyond natural gas today that are scalable and that provide the type of energy that all of us really demand in our lives and at the cost that we expect to pay, which is hugely important. So I've seen in the natural gas industry a move towards responsibly sourced natural gas, which is accounting for methane emissions, making sure that they're locking those down at the production level in as many places as they can. And that becomes a valuable commodity. That becomes something that people want to buy. If you use natural gas in combined heat and power systems, you get a lot of emission reductions, and you also get the ability to have very efficient and combined heat and power for industrial facilities. Combined cycle power plants, again, the technology is increasing, a really efficient way to produce power with a lower carbon emission. We've talked a lot about LNG, opening up those markets to ensure that Pennsylvania's responsibly sourced natural gas moves to other markets and helps them decarbonize as well. And there are other things like gas to liquids technologies that natural gas can play a role in as well. And then most recently is natural gas to hydrogen. There's been a lot of talk about that in this particular part of the world because of our abundance of natural gas. And there will be some natural gas companies that choose to produce hydrogen that could be blended with natural gas. It could be put into fuel cells. It could be sent to power plants. There's numerous end uses of hydrogen, but it's a very nascent market right now. And I think it's fair to say it's evolving and will be part of a longer term solution. It will not replace natural gas. It will be an augmented way of decarbonizing in that space. But I do want to point out that even with hydrogen today, it's 3 times the cost of natural gas if it's produced from natural gas. It's 7 times the cost if it's produced from water. So we really need to come back to this idea that if there's going to be a transition to cleaner energy sources, natural gas will be sitting in the bullseye of that because they offer solutions today at the prices that we need to pay in order to begin this pathway towards decarbonization. So again, I think I'll just close out my comments because I'm looking at time and I'm sure there's going to be questions for the other panelists and I don't want to get in the way of that. I just wanted to say thank you for your time. My value today here is that the technology evolution of what will happen in and around natural gas, I think is a very important piece that I want to leave with you today. And also just the reminder that as the world transitions to cleaner energy sources, price, reliability, affordability matters. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Denise. And I think we're going to bring all of our panelists back here. Just a minute. And we're going to begin the question and answer section of the program. And I do want to remind folks that if you do have a question, for those watching, you can type the question in the chat box. And for those that are listening today, you can press *3 to ask a question. So if you have a question you have not yet asked, please do so now. But to get us started, I'm going to turn first to the Senator. Senator, from a policy perspective, what can be done to encourage Pennsylvania's energy production and leadership?
Well, something that we've been trying to do for several years now, and that is to offer some semblance of predictability in any way, shape, or form for investment in Pennsylvania, especially in the energy sphere. We have a lack of predictability in Pennsylvania when it comes to taxation, permitting, regulation, all of those things. It makes it nearly impossible for those with hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars of capital investment to stake a claim here. We also need to be sure that we resist, as was spoken earlier, about the severance tax. We have fought tooth and nail against a severance tax because we have an impact tax. No other state in the country that produces natural gas has an impact tax. And we know the benefits of that. It's almost $2 billion in help to our municipalities that suffer the impact of natural gas production. So we're working on things like making the DEP more predictable, more efficient, and getting permits and things out there in somewhat of a timely fashion. We also need to be sure to hold any administration, this governor, any governor, hold them accountable and make sure that they do not feel emboldened to create out of whole cloth initiatives, coalitions, any kind of regulations that inhibit any industry, but especially the energy industry, because by doing so, it prevents investment, it chases away investment and expansion, and it threatens the livelihoods of anyone who has any business in manufacturing who relies on efficient energy and costs that they can sort of control or predict or even pay for. Because we know that in manufacturing, especially, the greatest expense is the energy to make your plant work. So we really need to make Pennsylvania more business friendly. We need to focus on reducing corporate net income tax. We need to make things, again, predictable, but make sure that our regulations are followed but not prohibitive. And there's a lot that we can do. There's a lot that we can do to take advantage of the energy right under our feet, this incredible resource that should be serving to bring in manufacturing and industry and investors hand over fist. And instead, we see that flow going out of Pennsylvania. We need to increase our tax base by being good stewards and being welcoming to the business community and using energy to drive our economy, to truly fuel the economy.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate that. And as Denise mentioned, we have the Shell cracker plant is a great example of how, if you have good policy and we sort of get out of our own way, doing things the right way, as all the speakers have mentioned, it's impacting not only for the economy, but for families, for affordable energy. So,
Bernie, to that point, we could afford to have 4 more of those plants in Pennsylvania. We should have an ethane storage hub right in Greene County in my district to provide the ethane needed for those cracker plants. We could have we could have so many more energy driven industries right here in Pennsylvania, but it's like we're trying hard to keep them out.
well, I know. And that's why people like all of you are working so hard to make sure that we're moving the energy industry forward in Pennsylvania. So to do that, Denise, you spent time at the beginning. I thought that was very meaningful to talk about how, women need to see this as a field open for them. And I'm wondering, how do you see, we have a question from the audience, how do you see jobs for women increasing in the industry?
Well, that's a great question. I'll take a stab, but I bet the other panelists will have some ideas as well. When I'm asked this question, and I have been asked it before, I generally try to emphasize the need for STEM graduates, because I think there's a specific role for women in providing the technical solutions that we need to provide to the energy industry. There's other places that you can certainly go with careers in energy. You can work on the policy side. You could work on the regulatory side. But I think fundamentally, and I'm speaking only for myself here, and I again, this is my own experience. I'm a geologist by training. I have a bachelor's and a master's in geology. And it is that technical experience that has helped advance my career, even if I am not serving in a purely technical role. There is something about having technical orientation and understanding of the issues in the energy space that make it more meaningful to navigate.
Yeah, and I think what you said too, Denise, is valuable about how you had a mentor that helped you start out. And I think that I am sure all of you online today have mentored other women in the field. And so I think that's critical too. And Gina, you certainly mentioned that, the educational resource that you have in Lackawanna County is starting to focus and bring more women in. So I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
Yeah, I do want to add, Bernie, that actually this semester, the School of Petroleum and Natural Gas has more women enrolled in the program for the first time than men. Let me repeat that. The School of Petroleum and Natural Gas for Lackawanna College has more women enrolled in the program for the first time than men. So they are seeing that these are family sustaining wages, that this is a field and an opportunity for women to work in. Women who have graduated through this program are now serving it as supervisors in the field, in field management in these positions. So it is a great opportunity for women, and it has definitely a diverse workforce.
Thank you. So, Stephanie, you talked a great deal about the economic benefits of natural gas, which we've all touched on today. But how has the use of natural gas in electricity generation reduced emissions, tying into what Denise is saying about decarbonization?
Thanks, Bernie. Yeah, absolutely. And I know I touched on this in my comments, but because there's an increased usage of natural gas and electricity generation is because why we're seeing CO2 emissions down to their lowest levels in a generation. It's just much better for the environment. So as you look toward decarbonization and just trying to reduce our carbon footprint, more and more folks are looking to natural gas as a way to generate electricity. So, LNG burns cleaner. I mean, natural gas is a cleaner burning fuel versus some other energies, other resources that are out there. So that's what the industry is looking to do and to minimize the environmental footprint as much as possible.
Okay. Well, we have another audience question. I think Senator will go back to you, but I think as Denise said, it's a discussion for everyone. Pennsylvania is slated to receive millions in federal funding from the bipartisan infrastructure law to plug abandoned wells. What are your thoughts on the issue, and how do you see the industry helping that situation?
That's a great question because this has been an issue for Pennsylvania for decades and decades and decades. Methane is truly the largest polluter when it comes to carbon emissions and things and greenhouse gases. And we have abandoned and orphaned wells throughout Pennsylvania that are 100 years old, some of these, and they are leaking methane into our environment. And those responsible for fixing it truly is the government of Pennsylvania. So look no further than the governor's office. And I have been on a mission since I was elected to say to the DEP secretary, let our conventional drillers wear the white hat right out there and plug these wells. They know how to do it. Give them a relief of liability, whatever it is we can do to give them, even if it's some sort of a tax rebate, whatever. They know how to do this. They can help clean up our environment and plug those wells. But to my knowledge, that none of that's been done. But I have been speaking recently with a couple of companies that this is their wheelhouse, and it would be phenomenal if we could use some of the infrastructure investment to do two things: really clean the environment, stop methane leakage from these wells, and provide cleaner and safer places for people to have their farms or other property or development. So I think it's a win-win for everyone, and it really would not be that big of an investment because it would the return on that investment would be incredible.
Thank you. Anyone else want to add to that? Okay, so I think I'm going to do what they do sometimes in a rapid round, but give you one more question that I'll ask all of you for just a short answer. What do you see as the future of energy in 10 to 20 years? And I'll start with Stephanie.
Yeah, to me, it's the sky's the limit. We are going to need more energy than ever before. We're in a situation where the world's population is increasing; it's not decreasing. We're going to need more energy, not less energy. So we have always said at API that we're going to need every source of energy that's out there, and just make sure you have that level playing field. That way, each energy resource can be part of that very important portfolio.
Okay, Denise?
It's a great question. So I'm going to follow along a little bit with what Stephanie said, but put my own slant on it. It's often confounded me that we talk about energy as if we shouldn't be using it, when in fact, energy powers everything that we do. What we make, what we eat, how we drive. There's so many important things that energy brings to our lives. And I would like to see in 10 to 20 years the technology enablement for us to use energy in whatever capacity we need in order to continue living really productive lives, and not be discussing in 10 to 20 years which is the best. In fact, just deal with the carbon attributes of any energy source that we have and enable us to use energy that we need to power our lives.
Oh,
Pie in the
fantastic.
sky.
Thank you.
What we can be, we can dream, right?
No, that's what I think we're working towards. Thank you. Gina, any thoughts?
You know, I wanted to make sure I was not muted. Sorry about that. I want to say that, manufacturers are looking to natural gas not only for, their products to change them into something else like Nacero that'll be using natural gas to change into gasoline, but they're also looking for reliable electricity. And natural gas, can of course be converted to electricity. This allows for reliability on our grid, not just here, but all across our nation. And that is extremely important, not only for our manufacturers, but for all of our households. So I think that's where we're looking to, right? What can we get? And also from byproducts, right? I met a great CEO yesterday of a company who is using the byproduct of natural gas fracturing to create things like salt, to salt our roadways. And he can actually extract lithium from natural gas. So it's amazing to me, and I don't have that sciencey background that Denise has, right? I don't understand it all, but he can extract all of these things from the byproducts, the waste, right, of the fracking. So it's really neat to me. So I think that's where we're going.
It's like layers of an onion. Energy is the gift that keeps giving. So,
Yes.
Senator, final thoughts
Yes.
on where we'll be in 10 to 20 years.
You know what, Ed, truly, if we can focus on investing in research and not alienating any one particular industry, it truly is all of the above. We need a diversified grid. We can do all of that in Pennsylvania. We can do natural gas, oil, coal, using waste coal and biomass to create net negative carbon emitting. We can do carbon sequestration. We can do all of these things. I just had a lunch with the Marcellus Shale Coalition the other day, and we talked about hydrogen and blue, green, gray, pink. I mean, who knew all of the availabilities and all of the different ways that we could take advantage of that? We can also do hydroelectric, and we've got geothermal working in one of our jails in Beaver County right now. There are so many different ways that we can take advantage of this. It's not an all or nothing. And we should not be using one industry to attack another industry. It's the playing field is large. Let's just all do our best to bring the best out of each one of those industry and work together. Because again, to Stephanie's point, we all need energy. We absolutely need it. And the demand for it only increases every single year. And I think we should be looking at Pennsylvania with some of the most abundant rivers and streams out there. Let's take a look at hydroelectric. Let's take a look at micronuclear. There are so many things we could be focusing on. And, stop looking at the shiny object where it's pitting one against another.
Well, thank you. Well, what I think this is a perfect way to wrap things up, the discussion up, by looking at the future, because the future is certainly bright where it comes to Pennsylvania and energy. We had several goals today. The first being to provide information for everyone on the call. People come to the calls and webinars with different levels of understanding information. So we hope people walked away with information on the state of the natural gas industry in Pennsylvania and how important the industry is and how much potential it has for the future. The other thing we wanted to do was highlight the work of women in the industry, and I can't think of 4 better panelists to get us started discussing how impactful women can be in the energy industry in Pennsylvania. We look forward to continuing our discussions with women in energy over the next few months. And just as a reminder, this webinar was recorded and it will be available online soon. I want to thank all of our panelists again and wish you all a wonderful evening. Thanks for joining, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.